I've been doing website development and design for the better part of 9 years. It's always been a side hustle for me, so never a full-time thing. The past couple of years, it has grown into something substantially bigger, where I am now a co-founder of an agency over in the US, as well as having my own clients in Norway. And now I'm at a crossroads where I can essentially decide whether or not I am going to double down on being a web designer and developer, or choose a third path. So in this video, we're going to cover those topics. I'm going to tell you what you can kind of expect over the next couple of years, and also kind of give you some tips and tricks as to what you can do if you're in a similar position as me to keep this game going on for as long as possible. First and foremost, I'm not a developer. I have used WordPress, and then I transitioned to Webflow quite in the early days. And Webflow is amazing for the better part. However, it has had its own problems in the past couple of months, if not years. And the reason for that is that I think Webflow as a company, they raise money and all of that, and they need to exist. And so they're looking at the business model that they need to push. And what we see is that they transition from being very freelance focused, catering to people like me and other smaller studios or agencies to help them kind of bridge the gap between development and design, to now focusing more on the corporate clients that they have, because there's just more money there. And why is there more money there? Well, if we just kind of take a step back and look at it, I know people hate it, but AI, right? I think that in the next 2 to 3 years, a lot of the things that we today see has been templatized by a lot of these agencies, where you can essentially just buy a template, fill in most of your info. Now, I know most companies don't want that, but the same thing put on steroids is what AI will be able to bring to the table. And so I think that, the lower and mid-tier websites will kind of start to fade away, which is in the exact segment that I've worked in and a lot of people that I know work in. So that's websites ranging from, let's say, $5 to $30K. I think it's slowly kind of transitioning away and is going to be automized in a pretty big, heavy way going forward. So that's the first reason. The second reason is, just like I have kind of been dabbling in both design and development, you've always really had two sides to it. You could either do, full stack, call it, both, which was kind of seen as the unicorn standard in the business. Now, I think that the unicorn standard, call it the full stack developer or designer, is going to be the norm going forward. And so you're essentially merging two roles into one. And I mean, yeah, technology is making this easier and easier, but it's still two professions and two things you have to master to stay competitive. And I see this all around the industry right now, where people are looking for people who can design and develop. That means that if you really want to be, among the top, among the best in that, you got to really focus on both. A third reason as to why I'm not doubling down is the Pareto principle. I think that I've mastered the basics and maybe even some of the advanced stuff at a very high level. I know what makes a good website tick. I know how to sell a vision to a client to help them bring the most out of their business. That means that, I have 80% of their needs covered, maybe even 100%. And so if I were to really specialize now in web design and development, I would be, messing around with award-winning sites. And award-winning sites are not the norm. It's not what people usually have the budget to pay for, nor want. They really want to use their website as a vehicle to solve their business problems. I think I have an arsenal of skills and expertise in doing that, and just spending more and more time kind of caving out the last, say, 20%, which really isn't the 20%. I'd say it's 5%, to make things like really visually striking, to create a wow effect, will likely not have much impact on any bottom line in any business. And so I see it as, quote unquote, a waste of time, because I don't want to be a designer, or not just a designer anyways. So that begs the question, what do I do now? And I'll be honest with you, I have people who are way worse at designing and developing than me that do better than me in business. And I think the reason for that is they've kind of mastered the art of marketing, branding, and content. And it's kind of ironical, but when I was having my agencies, I still am, and I'm still going to continue to do that, my issue was never on the quality of the things that I produce. It was always getting new leads in the door. And so the next step for me is essentially doing a little bit more of what I'm doing now, which is producing content around this whole narrative of essentially building wealth and optimizing for health, because I think those two go hand in hand. And so the next two skills I want to pick up, first and foremost, I bought a book. Here it is. marketing effectiveness, applying marketing science for brand growth. So learning a little bit more about how to work with bigger brands and making them tick. And the second one being content production. So, how do I put myself out there? How do I create engaging stories that people want to follow? So I think that once I learn that and have marketing and content production as my skill set to be able to pull from whenever a client needs it, I won't only know that better, but I'll also be more deadly on the website and development part of the business. And the reason is because I know the basics very well, and the basics is what people want. So if I spend more time being really, really advanced, learning all the crazy new class naming, component system, Webflow offers, and learning Framer, and then dabbling into something third, I have that, and people value that, and people want to pay for that. And so I think my time is better spent learning different skills, which can supplement what I already know coming from design and development to help my clients even further. All right, done.